Hi everyone, thanks for joining me again today for another process video. I am doing another layout with my September hip kit, which was perfect for all of my California vacation photos. And right now I'm just putting a little bit of clear gesso on my paper because I am going to use some of the shimmers that came actually in my December hip kit. But they really still coordinated with many of the papers I was using from the September kit on this layout. So I wanted to make sure that I coated my paper with the gesso before using those shimmers watercolors, just because I knew I was going to be adding water to them to make them even more fluid than they already were. So I'm going to put some on just some packaging that I had, and then I add some water to that. And then I'm going to smoosh it down onto the cardstock using the packaging technique that we all know and love. And I do a bunch of that around my cardstock, and you really can't tell until it dries like how shimmery it is. It's really, really pretty, and I love that color. And I'm going to start with this turquoise color, or teal color, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to go around my cardstock there and just keep doing the packaging technique. And eventually I will actually put some on my brush and go back with my brush and add in more coloring with my brush. And I'm sorry it kind of wobbles whenever I do this packaging technique because I have a tripod set up on my table, and I have one of those clips that my iPhone attaches to. So anyways, I'm just doing this packaging technique still. And while I'm doing that, if anybody has any recommendations for good editing software, something besides iMovie, I use iMovie right now, either on my iPhone or my iPad, and I have been moving videos around because I've been running low on space on my phone, and I'm trying to avoid that in the future. So I was thinking maybe if I offload some of these videos onto my computer, I could actually edit them on my computer. So I did try out a program called Wondershare that I just downloaded the free version to try it, but my voiceover did not sync up with the actual video. So that was no good for me. So anyways, if anyone has any recommendations, let me know. I do have a Windows PC and I have a Mac, although it's not a new Mac. So if there's anything anyone can recommend, please let me know, because I've been researching it, but I kind of don't know that I want to make an investment in software unless I've heard from somebody who's actually used it. So back to the layout. So I decided to do a bunch of punch circles for this and also use some of those wood chips that came in the kit. And so I just went and pulled out my circle punch and punched out a bunch of the papers. And all of the papers are from the kit except for that blue and white paper. And I bought that from my local scrapbook shop just because I loved the pattern. So I used some of those on this layout as well. And you'll notice right now I have my two photos matted on two different pattern papers. I have it on bold pink and white stripe from the Dear Lizzie documentary collection, and then I have that matted again on that blue and white paper. And that will change eventually, but I'll wait till we get there. So I told you I was going to go back and use some of that pink or the magenta shimmers. So this is where I do that because I decide that I really like the teal turquoise color, but I also love pink. And I laughed because I had someone comment on one of my other videos because I said I was really loving the blue in this Amy Tan line. And I do love the blue, but then she said, "Well, I'm a pink girl, and I thought to myself, well, I'm actually really a pink girl too. I don't know, maybe that's why I'm enjoying the blue because I just use so much pink. But here you see, like, I don't get away from the pink. I still love pink. So I had some of the pink onto my layout. A couple of the areas, I'm not sure the turquoise was completely dry, and when I got the pink on, it kind of combined a little bit with the turquoisey color and looked almost a little bit purple, which obviously was not a look I was going for. But once I get the circles down, you won't even really notice it. So, and then you just see you see most of the turquoise color poking out. You don't really see much of the pink, just a little bit. So, but I did just want to add a little bit of the pink, because there is some pink in those Amy Tan paper with the flowers, which was probably one of my most favorite papers. That and then the plain blue paper from the collection. So that word up top that I just had there, it said silliness, and that is actually from the December hip kits. And those are Heidi Swap words, and you can mist those, watercolor on them, paint them with whatever. And so I just painted it with the magenta shimmers. So I told you I was going to go back and remat that photo because I was not liking the blue and white paper on there. So I am doing that now, and so I switched over to one of the Dear Lizzie documentary papers, that black and white polka dot, and so I decided I like the way that looks much better. So I pull it off that blue and white paper and I mat it on that black and white and then get that trimmed up. And once I do that, I'm going to be much happier with the way that looks. The blue and white was just too much for me. It was too bright and it just didn't look right to me. So, like I said, I'm going to get that trimmed up and I'm going to like that so much better. And you'll notice also I have those branding strips. I have one up at the top and one up at the bottom that you probably can't see right now. And along with my title that I'm going to use from the Amy Tan Finders Keepers stickers, which I really loved. So I'm going to start getting these circles stuck down on my paper. And I don't know why I'm so OCD about this, but I'm going to check to see if everything's lining up, because I'm just that way. And so I'm going to work on those, and I'm not going to show you the whole process of this because you'd probably be ready to kill me by the end of it. You'd be like, Kelly, just stick it down already. So anyways, I'll show you a few of them, but I'm not going to stick down the wood chip pieces yet, because when I get all these pieces of paper stuck down, I'm going to go back to my sewing machine and sew over them. So you'll notice that I am just putting a little bit of adhesive on one side of each of those circles. And that is because I know I'm going to sew down the middle of them. I'm going to do vertical lines. And so I don't want to have adhesive there, because especially when I'm going to be using gold metallic thread. And metallic thread is very finicky. It does not behave well a lot of the times, and it especially doesn't behave well if you have adhesive in the way. I had that happen to me on another layout a few months ago, and the thread kept breaking on me, and I was like, what is going on? And then I realized there was adhesive in the way. So there I just showed you where I sewed those lines, and I just sewed right under where my wood chips are going, and that way the line sort of comes out at the top of those wood chips. So I'm going to get those glued down. And I just use some Scotch adhesive, the wet adhesive on that. And so I'm looking at my branding strip here, and as usual, I'm going to stick it down, but I'm not going to get it placed perfectly just the way I want it. So I am going to peel it up and move it around some and get it stuck back down. I don't understand why I can't line things up, but I think it makes it harder too when I'm working on when I have white cardstock and I have it sitting on my white table. When I do that, I probably need to pull out either my other little craft mat or my big green cutting mat. But I didn't do that. So, and I'm going to put one on the bottom of the layout as well. There we go. I do pull out my mat there. Probably because I'm like, okay, I can't see where the edge of the paper is. So, and I apologize that that's getting cut off there a little bit. But you will see that. And I also apologize that this video will get cut off at a point, so you won't see me actually do all of my embellishing, but you will see it in my still photos at the end. So I decide that I want to pop this up on some dimensional adhesive. So I just get some of that out and just putting it on the back there, and I will do that and get that stuck down. And I fiddle with that just a little bit. I stick it down, don't like the exact placement, and so I move it a little bit, and then I'm happy with it. So I then move on after that. So I have that little silliness there that I'm going to end up using, although I don't think I stick that down yet. Nope, I'm going to go to my title. And my title is City Mushrooms, using those Amy Tan Finders Keepers Thickers. So I loved that I actually had all of the letters to spell out City Mushrooms. And this layout is just pretty silly anyways, because when we went to San Francisco, my daughter and I would always notice these things when we're walking by buildings, and I have no clue what they are, but I'm sure there's a purpose for them. But we just thought it was funny because they were actually painted, purposely painted. So we just thought that was kind of funny. So you'll notice in the top picture, I have a little bit of her foot there, and she's pointing to them. And we went out, like, I think our last night we were in San Francisco, we went out just to get pictures of those because we thought they were so funny. And we had seen them throughout our whole trip once we got to San Francisco. So anyway, so I am doing some embellishment around my photos. I took that Hello, My Name Is embellishment and cut it apart and use part of it up top and part of it at the bottom. And I'm going to use one of those little houses also because I do think they're kind of cool with the way a lot of the houses are in San Francisco, the real tall buildings. So I will end up using that, but I decided I needed some more color. So I did cut that journaling card from the ephemera pack, and I'm going to use part of it up top, and then I'm going to peek out a little bit of it at the bottom. And so I'm going to get that under there, and then I'm going to put that little house on there. I'm going to pop that up on some foam adhesive. So just using some more of my Scotch wet adhesive there in my fine line applicator. And I did put dimensional adhesive on that. I just didn't put it on camera. And so I get that stuck down on there. And, oh, there I added a little bit. I think what I did is I put wet adhesive on and then added a little bit of the dimensional adhesive under there. So, oh, I guess I didn't stick those pieces down up top yet, so I'm going to get those pieces stuck down. And now, yes, so I'm going to just use some wet adhesive on that silliness word, and then I'm just going to stick it up top there. And so now it's going to cut off soon, but I'm going to put some rub-ons on the wood chips, and I'm going to use some of the arrows, and I'm going to add 2 pieces of flair from a Flair for Buttons, and just made some little metallic gold thread nests for them, and added some of the wood buttons from the Dear Lizzie documentary collection, and some gold splatters with my Heidi Shine. And that's really all and my journaling, which I don't think I have my journaling on there yet, but I just typed up my journaling and added it to the bottom of my layout. And I didn't have a whole lot of room for journaling, but I did want to make sure I got that story down because it was a funny one. So anyways, I did add some dimensional adhesive on the point of that arrow so that it stays raised up. But here's where my video is going to cut off. And here are my still photos so you can see all of the close-ups of the other embellishments that I added. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video.